let's talk about the real stuff that's going on in the gaming industry. And ladies and gentlemen,
damn, dude,
I would say the vast majority of the show. Yeah. The vast majority of the show is going to be just, Microsoft just, if we knew that there were going to be more layoffs in this year, because last year we already saw about 20% of the entire games industry just get deleted. Well, Microsoft just came out and said, hold my beer. Microsoft is getting, they're in the process of firing 9,000 employees.
Now listen, first of all, my apologies for everyone that is affected by this, but I have to do the meme. It's over 9,000! Oh my God, dude. It's fucking disgusting, though. Like, seriously, 9,000. Now, it is important to say this is not just on the Xbox side of things. This is the entirety of Microsoft is getting affected by this. And there are a lot of repercussions for what is going down. Do carry on, sir.
You have insane stuff that's coming out of this, right? You have games that's getting canceled, and I'm sure we'll talk about those a little bit more. You have entire studios like Blizzard is getting hammered by this. Bethesda is getting hammered by this. ZeniMax is getting hammered by this. You have entire studios closing down. Like, all of their people are getting fired. Microsoft is cleaning house. Now, ordinarily, and as you guys know, my stance on this is that layoffs are not always bad all the time, right? I do think that there are people in the games industry that don't belong there. I do think that there are games developers who should maybe go into political activism rather than being games developers. But there is something uniquely cruel about why Microsoft is laying off all of these developers when immediately following this, it was revealed that Microsoft has applied for over 6,000 H-1B1 visas, mainly from India, for workers in, drumroll please.
Wait, I didn't know that. What? They've applied for visa? Oh my God, dude.
Yeah. For people from India.
Oh my God.
In AI.
Oh God.
You see, that's the big story here, is that all of these developers are getting fired because Microsoft is making space for more AI developers. Microsoft is going all in on the AI development side of things because it believes...
It doesn't surprise me, though. It doesn't surprise me at all.
No, but I don't think it surprises anyone at this point because the whole world is gung-ho on AI. But I think that sort of leaves a bitter taste in my mouth. Like, I've sort of changed my position on the whole laying off of developers. Insofar as, I understand that it's wrong to be gleeful about it, but it's oftentimes very, very hard not to be gleeful.
You know what?
Right? When
I'm proud of you, Akalon. Good job.
Thank you, bro. It's hard not to be, right? Because I get so angry at some of these developers, but that still isn't an excuse to celebrate their suffering or to celebrate their dismissal from jobs. So I do apologize sincerely about that and the stuff that I've said in the past. But it's extra evil when you realize that over 9,000 developers are losing their jobs to make space for AI developers. Because that's where they think the future lies. And look, I've no doubt that a lot of the 9,000 developers that have been fired, like, for example, let's talk about the first game that's been canceled, Perfect Dark, right? Yeah. Perfect Dark gets canceled. We've only ever seen one cinematic of this game. We haven't seen really gameplay or anything like that.
We've seen like the latest trailer had in-engine footage, the one that they had shown. It had in-engine footage. So it's not gameplay, but it's not CGI. Everything is CGI because everything's computer-generated imagery, but you guys get the point. It's not pre-rendered. It's not a pre-rendered cutscene. It was actually in-engine. At least I believe that's what was said during that presentation. And there was also another trailer, and that one I think was full-on CGI, but keep going.
But I mean, there wasn't a gameplay trailer. There wasn't like a big celebration of what the gameplay elements of the game is going to be. We sort of just had that, but it was, and this should be mentioned, it was Microsoft's first quadruple A game, because this
It was a quadruple A game?
the studio that made this was founded by Microsoft as a quadruple A studio. They were going to make quadruple A games. Like, that was the whole point behind the studio. And I think,
don't make me laugh. I'm gonna paint it wrong if you keep making it.
I recognize that it's I recognize that it's funny, but remember, and I think this should also just be mentioned, there was a legitimate time, right, when the industry genuinely thought, and we're gonna get to that as well, because there's so much going wrong in the gaming industry at the moment, and so many gaming companies just clearly on the wrong side of things. But there was this period of time where the games industry genuinely thought that because sales were sort of tapering off, more money would just mean more sales. So if we just start spending more, and this sort of varies, someone made the argument the other day, it's very much an investor's mindset, right? Because in investing, when you spend more money, you make more money. I think you said this. When you spend more money, you make more money, right?
No, I don't think I said that, but that is the investor's mentality.
Yeah.
Because like you do an investment, and back in the day, like we used to be able to actually do these things. Nowadays, with at least in Portugal, with the economy the way there is, it's a piece of garbage. But back in the day, there was a time where you could get like a 5% return on like, and this is just like a flat, you put this in this account in the bank and you just get 5% back over the course of like a year or something. Yeah. And that was like really good, because it's like, oh, the more money you put in there, the more money you get back. And investors are used to this type of stuff. Now, usually they don't do the 5% thing. That's like for poor people like you and me, right? We get the 5% interest.
Yeah.
The peasants get now the investors, they go like, no, I want to like 3x my investment, right? And in that situation, if they're able to 3x their shit, the more money they put into it, the more money comes out. But as it turns out, there's like an upper limit on that when it comes to gaming development, and people have been fucking around a whole lot, and now they're kind of like finding out.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. And I think so. When you look at that investor's mindset, from their perspective, because you mainly have business people running these studios, right? Their thinking is, if you made, let's say, $1 billion spending $500 million, then you'll make $2 billion spending $1 billion. You know, and so the thinking is, if we just keep increasing the price, and so this is where this quadruple A sort of mentality started to come from. The idea was that we've done the AAA stuff. And I think the other thing there was also just the case that indie was starting to catch up, right? You were starting to see more and more AA and indie companies coming out with better and better games. And they were sort of going, well, if we just throw more money at it, we turn into quadruple
just keep
A.
Throwing money.
Yeah, we'll just increase the gap to where these indie companies just can't compete. Of course, technology completely cut that. Because now you have Clair Obscure Expedition 33 that is, by every account, if you spoke to anyone and you just showed them the game and asked them, do you think this was made by a big studio or a small studio? The answer would be, oh, probably a standard 350-man studio, right? Like, I can't see why it wouldn't be, except it wasn't, right? It was 30 people that made this phenomenal game. And so the Perfect Dark guys getting their studio canceled, I think, just speaks to Microsoft maybe turning a corner and realizing that, okay, we spent an obscene amount of money on this, and it did not pan out. This game isn't going to sell. And you have to think that Phil Spencer must be thinking about that. Like, in my video covering this, I just went through their most recent releases. I just looked at their most recent releases. And
so it's Doom Dark Ages at least, and then there's Avowed that I can remember. What else?
Let's just quickly find my list here.
I mean, it was definitely just the last two ones were those two. It's Avowed and Doom Dark Ages. I guess you can also throw Oblivion in there, because technically, even though it's Bethesda, it is a Microsoft thing. Although I don't know if it was a Microsoft studio that made it. Who is the studio that remastered
It's
that?
an extra. It's a small, well, not a small studio, but it is a third-party studio that made
So
the
it's
game.
not Microsoft. Yeah, but they're still publishing it, so they're still getting all the money and shit.
Yeah. So you had, for example, Senua's Saga, Hellblade 2, completely flopped. Starfield Shattered Space, completely flopped. Call of Duty Black Ops 6, while it still did phenomenally well, and a lot of games would like to do that well, the game is in terminal decline. Like if you go to the Steam charts for Call of Duty, it does not look good. Even in its most recent Battlefield or Battle Passes, it's getting no new players. It's just continuously diving down.
And by the way,
lower and lower.
Isn't the latest Call of Duty one of those games where they would just went like, hey, by the way, what if we just literally put AI emblems in this bitch?
Yeah, I if I'm not mistaken, there was something like that.
They put a bunch of just straight up AI slop into that game. They're just, hey, let's just see if people can tell. Oh no, people could tell. Oops.
I mean, you can tell Call of Duty and Activision is worried about Call of Duty because of the sort of now the Beavis and Butthead collaborations, the Seth Rogen collaborations. They're desperately trying to figure out how do we get new players back into this game, right? Because we're losing players consistently. We're not getting new players. Yeah.
How out of touch do you have to be like, oh, we need to get new players? Okay, wheel out Seth Rogen. It's like, what?
Yeah.
Seth Rogen would be to like try to get players of my age bracket. You're shooting for that good old 40-year-old age? Like, what the fuck are you doing, bro?
Well, think about it this way. You have a bunch of developers that have no experience on what gamers actually care about, having to make these decisions. Because, well, the people who are telling them to make these decisions are not people who make video games, right? They don't care.
Yep.
They're just thinking, well, Beavis and Butthead was good. Yeah, when you were young,
Beavis and Butthead was good. What, like in the early 90s or late 80s? Like, what the fuck? Yeah,
I'm not even old enough to really have enjoyed Beavis and Butthead.
Same.
It was. I think it was 9 or 10 when Beavis and Butthead was a thing. So it's just sort of like, why are you doing Beavis and Butthead? Like, holy shit! But okay, Microsoft Flight Simulator completely failed. Yeah. There might actually be people watching this that don't even know what it is. All right.
Yeah, like I start doing the Beavis like, and then there's the Butthead, which is like.
Yeah,
that's how bro laughed.
Okay, but then you have Microsoft Flight Simulator completely bombed, Avowed completely bombed, and
Flight Simulator didn't bomb, as far as I'm aware, at least
on Steam it did. Right, on Steam it had something like 2,000 players at peak, at launch. So, but to be fair, I'm not entirely sure if Microsoft Flight Simulator needs to make a lot of money, because if I'm not mistaken, it's actually designed for like actual flight schools and stuff. It's part of, I think, some contract or something.
It's not a part of a contract, but I mean, it is like as realistically, it wants to be as realistic as possible in terms of how to fly planes and stuff. So I don't know that it needs to make as much money as other games, but it also likely has partnerships with Google and shit, because I think that they use like Google Maps and all of that like 3D imaging technology to actually generate the maps in the game. And it also strongly utilizes their cloud technology, because like you have to be online to play that game, so that because otherwise the amount of information that you would have to download, because you can actually fly all over the world and it downloads information like high res, all of that shit. Yeah. So it's also kind of like a whatchamacallit, it's like a tech showpiece.
That's sort of
not a tech demo, but like a big tech showpiece for Microsoft cloud technology and their integration with Google and all of this other bullshit. Yeah. So there's more to it than just selling a video game.
Yeah. My thinking was that yes, it bombed, and yes, it probably didn't make its money back, but it's probably not their sort of goal with it anyways. It's more to invent and test new technologies for whatever, future things that they might want to do. So yeah, but it is still losing money, right? You're still releasing a game that isn't making any money. Avowed completely bombed. Indiana Jones completely bombed, which is actually interesting because most people
Jones
who played
didn't really
love it.
How did Indiana Jones bomb?
Look at the Steam charts, right? Because I'm not including Game Pass numbers here because one, we don't know what games do on Game Pass. Like, we have no idea, right? And also, if a game is good, and this we've seen play out every single time, it will sell well on Steam. Like, it always sells well on Steam if the game is good and people like it. So I don't understand what went wrong with Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, because it seemingly is good,
but are you
right? The people who played it said it was
Are you
fun.
just looking at concurrence?
No, I'm looking at what it did at the peak and then how far it fell, right? So and Indiana Jones.
What was the peak for Indiana Jones?
Let me quickly search for it. Because I just have the list here of the games. I don't have the screenshots for.
Because I don't think that peak concurrence is that important for Indiana Jones, really. I think it's fine if it has like lower peak concurrence. Like, I would imagine if it was able to break, like, let's say let's put it like this, before you reveal it, my like standard for the success of Indiana Jones would be somewhere close to 50,000 concurrents. I think that would be enough.
Okay.
Considering that it was on Game Pass as well. So what was the peak?
So all-time peak was 8,242. 24-hour peak, 679, and playing right now, 331.
Those of you that are just listening to the audio version, I just did the biggest surprise Pikachu face. It's like, what? 8,000? That's not a whole lot.
No. That's why I said it completely bombed, right? Age of Mythology
What's Stellar Blade doing, by the way, nowadays? How did Stellar Blade peak? Wasn't it like at 100K or something like that? Stellar Blade's not multiplayer. Like, it doesn't even need that much, and it wasn't even a simultaneous release.
So Stellar Blade all-time peak was at 192,000. Right now, 20,000 people are playing it, and its 24-hour peak is 44,000. So it's doing well.
Jesus.
It's doing very well.
I can't wait until somebody comes in and says, well, that's because it's a Gunner game. If it wasn't a Gunner game, it wouldn't be that successful.
Well,
like,
to people who go and genuinely think that games can just be Gunner games and that somehow pulls it off into being decent, you need to explain the complete failure of First Descendant. That game came out. A lot of people were super hyped for it. Within 24 hours, people like, yeah, never mind. Right? And all of their gooning stuff has not really been able to get people back in, because the gooning only really worked for like the first 2 seconds. And they're like, okay, now I want some actual gameplay. I want some actual stuff to play, right?
Some people need to go see a doctor or something about that. Fucking 2 seconds, bro. What the hell?
Bro, I mean, if you're playing video games to get off, bro. Right? If you're playing video games to get off, you are beyond help. You are beyond help, right? But then you have Age of Mythology Retold. Not that they didn't do that well. Aura History Untold is actually a super fun game, but I don't expect it to get hundreds of thousands because it's very much like a Civilization type game. Towerborn was a bit smaller. And then you had the Elder Scrolls Oblivion Remaster. While it launched really well, its drop-off was scary. And I think Microsoft was sort of hoping this was going to be another Skyrim situation, where it would come out and people would just, continuously play it.
You can't expect Oblivion to be a Skyrim situation. What the hell?
Well, there's a reason why they decided to remake that one, right? They were hoping that it could have the same sort of lasting effect as Skyrim did. It did not. It came and
by the way, if you're interested in that kind of game, my big recommendation would actually be Tainted Grail. Tainted Grail, hella good.
Yeah. A lot of people loved it, right?
Back to that.
But you look at Microsoft's games that they've released, and these are the blockbusters, right? We're not even looking at something like South of Midnight, which bombed completely. We're not even looking at Starfield, Shattered Space, the expansion to Starfield, not Shattered Space, that didn't shatter records at all, right? It didn't even manage to break. Like, dude, looking at the Steam charts, when Shattered Space releases, so usually when an expansion releases, you'd want to see like a bump, right? Like a bunch of people coming back. There's no bump. Like the expansion.
There's no bump in
like,
the thing at all?
Barely noticeable. Because I remember looking at it and thinking, wait, where's the bump? I don't understand. Like, how is this game like so bad? And to be fair to them, it's not that it's a super bad game. It's just that it's not what it needs to be. If you're going to do a space game, I need to feel like this is a space game. And it never felt like a space game. It just felt like I'm loading simulator my way through various different scenarios.
It's like, listen, like I've always said, the cool thing about Starfield is the faction quests. That's the best part of that game. The main quest kind of sucks.
Yeah.
And it's basically Skyrim in space is what they've done. It's like, hey guys, we have Skyrim, but in space now.
Yeah.
Let's go.
All right. So Perfect Dark canceled. The studio closed down. And I think, this is sort of indicative. Layoffs were always going to happen at Blizzard. You have World of Warcraft, for example, that isn't doing all that well. Every single time I go and check in on the community. You seen that
latest cinematic?
Oh, bro. I was just looking at that and I just thought to myself, thank goodness I'm no longer playing WoW, man. Like, this is cringe. Oh, so bad. So bad.
That was so weird, dude. It's like, oh my God, man. Yeah, that was a weird ass cutscene.
WoW isn't doing well. Just the other day, I was talking to a friend of mine who tried out the new Diablo season, and I asked him, well, what's the new season like? And he said, well, it's the previous season with new shit. That's it.
It's like, what people usually say about Diablo 4 seasons, it's like, okay, guys, what color is Helltide this time around? Is it a yellow Helltide? Is it a blue Helltide? Oh, purple. Hey, nice. We got a good one.
Awesome. Blizzard just doesn't seem to know.
An epic Helltide.
Yeah. I think Blizzard just doesn't seem to know how to make good games. Whoever still works at Blizzard have completely lost the plot. They seem to not understand what ARPGs are supposed to be. And right now, the only thing saving Blizzard still is the fact that, what's it called? Path of Exile 2 is not out yet in full, right? The second Path of Exile 2 launches in full glory. Diablo's done, right? No one's going to play Diablo over...
Not really, because Path of Exile 2 is still too hardcore. So for casuals, Diablo 4 is still going to be the drug of choice. It's like, that's the thing. That's the thing that they're doing. Casual. They're grabbing that casual market and they're just like sticking with it, which means they're not going to be able to appeal to the hardcore players, really.
Well,
but they are going to be able to get like those casual dads.
You do have serious problems with trying to appeal to the casual audience. The first is the casual audience does not spend money on games, not that much, anyways. And then all of the research shows that the casual audience follows the hardcore audience.
The hardcore, yeah, true.
They go where the hardcore goes. So when the hardcore all goes to Path of Exile 2, the casuals will just figure out how to play Path of Exile 2 in the most casual
learn
way.
Real fast.
Right? Yeah. Because they want to be where the action is, where everyone is playing. Anyways, so Perfect Dark. Can you tell us about Everwilds? I have no idea what Everwilds is.
I don't know much about Everwilds. It's from Rare. These are the same guys that are behind Sea of Thieves, it was their next big project. They were doing something called Everwilds, which is I'm assuming some game about nature or something like that. I haven't really looked too deeply into it because I wasn't super interested. But that game is just straight up canceled now, so it's gone.
Yeah, and then it appears.
And by the way, there was a senior staff who was working at Rare, who I think was also working on this game and working on Sea of Thieves, and he worked on Banjo-Kazooie. So like a 35-year veteran.
Wow,
he's gone.
Wow,
he's out,
clean and out.
It's like at peace. Yeah, dude. Microsoft does not give a flying fuck about anyone right now.
Yeah, it should probably just be mentioned though. When companies like Microsoft lay people off, in order for something to legally count as a layoff, if it's the same in America, it's usually last in, first out, right? That's the rule. So you first have to get rid of the people that you got in Lost, and then you start getting rid of everyone else. Now, I don't know. America's rules can be sometimes very different, where you can just lay off whoever you want. But what oftentimes happen is these studios will just lay a bunch of people off, and then behind the scenes they'll go and hire a bunch of people back, right? So they'll get back a lot of the people that they don't want to lose, offer them better deals or whatever. So there's a chance that could happen. The other thing that happened was the ZeniMax new MMO. So apparently ZeniMax was working on an MMO, and that got canceled as well.
I saw some description that said something like Destiny meets what was it? I don't know. It was something about Destiny 2 meets some other sci-fi franchise, and that was the game that they were working on.
Okay.
Not working on that anymore. That game's gone too. So alongside pretty much everything else, which kind of sucks because I feel like Elder Scrolls Online was actually pretty all right. It's not really my kind of MMO because of the fact that they're kind of like doing the free-to-play model, but not really. So they're selling you content piecemeal. And I always thought that their business model was kind of wonky, especially if you're trying to play the free-to-play or even the pay-to-play version, where it's like, oh, I bought the game and now I can play the game, because you can do that. What ends up happening is you can't really do crafting because your inventory space is so fucking limited that you straight up can't do crafting at all. But other than that, the game seemed fun.
What I always loved about their sort of system, which I actually thought was probably one of the better systems out there, is for your subscription, you get access to all of the DLCs that they release, as well as, and this is really the big one, you get your credits in store for the value of your subscription.
Oh, so, it's definitely more fair than something like World of Warcraft or Final Fantasy XIV or so on and so forth. Any standard subscription-based MMO.
Yeah, it's definitely, I think, of all of the subscription models and free-to-play hybrid models you can come up with, it's probably the best one there is. Sadly, the one thing that does bring it down is the endless bag. Without the endless bag, the game sucks, because they really did make looting a big part of the game. And that endless bag just goes a long way to helping out with that. But okay, so ZeniMax's new MMO, sadly, we know nothing about this MMO. We don't really know, because they never spoke about it. I don't even know until I heard they were canceled that they were working on a new MMO. Wow.
We had heard about it. We had heard that they were doing something new, but there wasn't any confirmation of what it was. Whatever. So
I haven't heard that they were working on another game. So but then again, I don't really focus on ZeniMax or MMOs in general. So it could be just under my radar. But so Microsoft, massive layoffs. Then I have another one here that I'm going to bring up, because it's sort of part of it.
Is it still related to Microsoft? Because I don't want to leave the Microsoft topic just yet. Okay.
Yeah, it's still related to Microsoft, but you wrote your Warcraft Rumble bites the dust. Since it's part of Microsoft,
nothing of value was lost. True. And literally nothing of value was lost.
I agree with you, but can you explain it to the viewers? What the hell are you talking about? What happened?
So apparently, because the layoffs also hit Blizzard, this is a news article on IGN. Blizzard says Warcraft Rumble won't get any new content as Microsoft layoffs hit development team. An extremely hard decision. Oh no! But it's funny because it's not even just traditional video games that were affected. Even King. The makers of Candy Crush lost 10% of their team. So it's even on mobile projects, even those are suffering, which to me, you know what that feels like? It feels like nature, the gaming industry is healing. It's healing.
I was going to get this tiny violin
mobile games burning. Yes. Fuck them. Fuck mobile gaming. Let's go. Burn it to the ground.
So you mentioned that you don't want to move on from the Microsoft story just yet.
Yeah. Because basically, my interpretation of this, and I want to see what you feel about this, but my interpretation of this is Basically, Microsoft is in a cost-cutting situation, despite the fact, by the way, that they had increased revenue to the tune of, where was it? I had that over here somewhere. Yeah, here we go. The 2024 revenue exceeded $245 billion, a 16% increase over its 2023 revenue. So despite the fact that they've given their shareholders fuckloads of money, that means absolutely fuck all. So and this almost goes out as a warning for anybody that is working in the industry right now, and you're like, oh man, if we can just make those quarterly profits, I'm gonna be golden. There's not gonna be a problem. No, that's not how it works. If you are working in this industry, even a 16% increase in revenue will still net you over 9,000 people fired, which is fucking insane. Now, the thing here is Microsoft is cutting costs massively. Now, you've also mentioned that they're apparently bringing in a bunch of people from India to work on AI, which that was something I wasn't even aware of at all. I haven't even seen that article at all, but so they're replacing people with AI specialists. And on top of it, the cherry on top of the cake, this is my prediction, Game Pass is going to increase its price. That's the next move. That's the next move. They're increasing Game Pass price.
I would not be surprised if they were to do that. I think that would be a mistake though. But then again, this industry
the next logical move.
The second there's a choice that has like very large warning signs, danger, very bad decisions ahead. It's like the industry goes,
what does this red button do?
Let's go check it out, boys. Like what's the worst that could happen?
It's the only path forward, clearly. It's the only path forward. The one that has big danger warnings on it, it's the only way.
I could definitely see them taking normal Game Pass. Like Game Pass Ultimate, I feel like is already well overpriced. It's $20 and you don't get that much extra from it. Game Pass Normal, that's 10 buckaroos, right? That's actually quite dirt cheap.
That's the one that's raising. They're going to raise that one to like 13 like it's gonna go to 14.
And I have to be honest, in this instance, I kind of think it's still worth. If they were to go to like $20, now we're no longer talking worth. Right, because I can buy an indie game for $20, and I'll probably get a month's worth of playtime out of that indie game. So I feel like you're just, they should be very careful with how much they raise the price. But they're almost definitely going to raise the price. The developers that's being fired, I think here's what people need to understand when it comes to corporations. It doesn't matter how much profits they make. It doesn't matter whether the profits are up or down. They're looking at every single individual studio and asking themselves, and to some extent, I kind of agree with them in doing this, right? They're looking at studios and going, right, we don't care that we made 16% increased profits. What did you do? Like, how much money did you as a studio? Because remember, for these guys, it's just about the money that you added to the company. Like, whether you had a good time doing it, that doesn't matter. Are you the life of the party and makes everyone else's life better coming to work every day? They don't care. If you brought cupcakes every single Friday morning, right, for everyone at work, they don't care. How much money did you add to the company?
But what if those cupcakes were made by Girl Scouts?
Still, how much money did you make for the company? And that's all they care about, right?
So cold. But it's Girl Scouts cupcakes.
Well,
Come on now.
It is what it is.
That's got to be worth more.
It is what it is. That's all companies care about. And to some extent, I kind of appreciate that, right? I kind of respect that. And the only reason for it is I know exactly what to expect from a company that only cares about making money. Because I know that every decision they make, even if they're trying to make it sound like they're doing it for me, I know for a fact it has nothing to do with me. They just care about the money that they make. That's why I'm sort of against companies trying to play social engineering and trying to do good things in the world, because I feel like it crosses streams. You're a company, just focus on making money, because I can trust that, right? I can trust that you're a scumbag, greedy asshole, and I need to watch out, because you'll stab me in the back whenever you want. So these obviously Microsoft looked at all of their studios and they decided to get rid of the studios that are underperforming or the studios that they deem to be bloated in some way, shape, or form. And right now, Microsoft is all in on the AI game. This isn't Phil Spencer because he's not part of the AI team. This is just Microsoft, the corporation. They believe that AI is the future. And so, yeah, they're all in on this. I think you kind of have to know how bad your AI is when you physically have to force your own employees to use your AI. Like, that's something that happened a few months ago. I don't know if you even remember, where Microsoft
they forced people to use like Teams and Copilot and like their whole software suite. Yeah,
dude, if you have to force your own developers to use your product, that should tell you how shit your product actually is, right?
There's problems there, brother. There's some problems.
But, it is what it is. There's nothing else we can do about it. We'll just have to see, because I do think you're going to see in the very near future, EA, probably Ubisoft, all of these companies follow suit, especially now, because if you can fire people as close to this deluge as possible, you're not the only one taking flack. Right? You're not the only one being attacked. You're just part of everyone else currently being attacked, and it sort of makes it a lot easier. And you can sort of reference Microsoft's laying off as the thing that triggered it for you, and not necessarily signal to investors that, we're losing money or whatever. So that needs to be mentioned.